So what are some vehicles that you could do to protect your wealth or have a store of value? You know, how you guys deal with real estate. So real estate obviously is booming. Even used cars might have been good in the past year. But Bitcoin cryptocurrency is also a way to do that.
Matthew, welcome to the show today.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate being here.
All right, tell us a little about yourself. I mean, the only things I know about you is you're running for Congress and you love cryptocurrency. Okay, that's what I know. Tell us a little bit more.
All right, so my name is Matthew Diemer. I'm running for Congress in Northeast Ohio. The current district is Ohio's 13th district. Born and raised Northeast Ohio in a place called Slavic Village in a place in Cleveland, Ohio. Moved around quite a bit to different places around Ohio, and went to school in Hawaii. Went to the University of Hawaii, where I graduated with a degree in political science. Got a full scholarship to study Chinese, so I'm fluent in Chinese, reading, writing, speaking. Studied at Beijing University. Lived in China for about 15 years, where I was at an executive level, in the executive level of hospitality over there. Got a full scholarship for my MBA, which I did in Taiwan. Then I went to while I was doing my MBA in Taiwan, I started a small media company called Crypto 101, which I got into crypto, started educating people in the crypto space. I sold that business to a company in San Diego, where that took me back to the stateside. And now I'm back in Northeast Ohio, doing a daily crypto news show for Decrypt Media. It's called the Decrypt Daily. And I am running for Congress over here.
That is really awesome. So a lot of things to get into here. But first and foremost, I mean, there's a lot of people that are, love crypto. And it could be attributed to shiny objectitis. It's sexy, it's new, it's exciting, right? But anyone who spends any more time with it like you have for several years and actually builds businesses around it, it's a little deeper than that. What do you like about crypto?
Well, I always first of all, I'm a Trekkie. And so anything with emerging tech or sci-fi or things that are trying to break down barriers or new things, I'm always trying to look into. But when it comes to cryptocurrency, there's a couple of things that are really fundamental to me. One, I really like the aspect of controlling your own wealth. I like the investment aspect of it. I also like the tech aspect of it, the different things they're trying to do to empower people, bank the unbanked, give people a financial access to the same tools that say any people with high net worth would have, and try to get that to everybody, democratize that. And so there's just different things that are coming out of the crypto space that are just great technologies to solve real world problems. A couple other things I would like to mention is identity on the blockchain, which is going to help you control your data, control your identity in the digital world, and also voting. Voting is a big thing. And I think blockchain technology is a huge way to create transparency, create an auditable source where anybody can audit elections and give everybody secure voting. So we can never have any question of what happened. And I'm not saying that I'm not denying that there was any problems with our current election, but if there is any question, I think that there are technologies out there so we can make it easier, more accessible, and better for everybody.
Now, what I didn't hear you say is how you can become a millionaire overnight with crypto, which is interesting. Which means again, you're going a little deeper on crypto than the average, CNN headline news, whatever junkie. But I do want to talk about the financial aspect of it. You mentioned a couple non-financial aspects per se, the technology, which I think Garrett and I want to understand that as well. But the question is, to what extent is crypto an investment vehicle? And if so, how do you best use it? Where does it fit in a portfolio? What can it do for us?
Well, I think there's two current ways that we should be looking at crypto and investments. And obviously, there's the talk about number go up, get rich, millionaires overnight, and so on and so forth, which there's plenty of those. But I think that there's two things right now that we have to start looking at. And the first one is how to protect your worth, your net worth. We have inflation, and we saw 7.5% here in the United States, 5.5% in the UK. So if you didn't get a 5.5% raise, at least you were making less money. 7.5% in the United States, less than you were last year. So what are some vehicles that you could do to protect your wealth or have a store of value? How you guys deal with real estate. So real estate obviously is booming. Even used cars might have been good in the past year. But Bitcoin cryptocurrency is also a way to do that. And the other one thing is we are seeing a interesting time right now, especially when you see the different laws that are coming or emergency acts that are coming out of Canada. If you have wealth, if you have it stored somewhere, how do you make sure that there's not a run on the bank, or you control it, or to make sure that it doesn't get shut down, or there aren't ways to, maybe just keep you out of your money? And Bitcoin solves those two things. So as much as you want to, we're talking about, number go up and creating wealth, but there's also the storing your wealth, getting ahead of inflation, and making sure that you are the only sole person that's in control of your money.
All right, let me challenge that a little bit, Matthew, because we're obviously in an inflation environment, 7.5 to 10% based on depending on what index. Yet Bitcoin is down. I don't know the exact number in front of me, but like 30% since its high last year. So if it's really a hedge against inflation, it should have been up at least 7.5%, and it's down 30. So the gap is more like 37%. So I don't understand how it's a hedge against inflation.
Well, if you look at this time last year, it's pretty much the same price as last year. But if we're looking at a larger time span, if we looked at, say, over the past, let's call it the last all-time high, which was nearly $20,000. If we're sitting at $40,000 today, that is up 100% over the past 3 years or so, 3.5 years. So we're talking about 33% year over year. If you're looking at larger timeframes, then we are looking at definitely making up that 7.5 to 10% that you said.
So the other thing you said is, you're kind of outside the government's control, but see what's going on in Canada right now, right? Where they're freezing crypto assets from these truckers. Like, what is going on with that? And of course, China's been doing this for a long time. So, is it a little naive to think that crypto is now floating without regulation, at least forever?
I think that you bring up a really good point there. And, you saw these different CEOs from either Kraken, his name is Jesse Powell, and Coinbase's CEO, Brian Armstrong, that said, look, we operate within the regulations of these governments. If it's Canada, the United States, or whatever, if they tell us to freeze your assets on these exchanges, your Bitcoin, your Ethereum, your Litecoin, or what have you, we're going to have to do that. We're going to have to abide. This is the agreement that we made with the government. This is why in their tweets, they said, take it off our exchanges and make sure you're self-custodian. Put it in your wallet. So therefore, if you wanted to transact your Bitcoin, you can go peer-to-peer, me to you. The government cannot control that.
Yeah. So one thing, Matt, that always comes up is like, okay, well, you've got all these coins, you've got different uses. Obviously, you see that there's something there, but it's kind of almost like when they invented electricity. Like there were all these different products on the market and 90% of them went away. So my question to you is, what do you see sticking around long-term in crypto? And what types of iterations of crypto do you see that probably won't be around in the next, 20, 30 years?
That's a really good question. If this was 4 years ago, I would probably say all kinds of different things. Right now, I say Bitcoin. It's a very good, from what I say, if we're not talking about short-term timeframes, longer timeframes, a store of value, and also protection of wealth when you talk about peer-to-peer, like we just said. But when it comes to the other things, I think that it would be very arrogant to say that we've got it figured out. Even in the NFT space, people are talking, or trying to make different things, test out technologies. If we're talking about like back in, I guess the old web days back in the early 90s, we had chat rooms, in AOL, they would send you discs and you had 10,000 free hours. And if we thought that was the pinnacle of the internet, is getting 10,000 free hours discs sent to you in the mail, then we would have been so very, very wrong. And so what we're going to do is we're going to do just like anything. We're going to mature in the space. They're testing out technologies. They're testing out what's going to be good at the market. People who are testing out how they're going to use it. Different companies are coming in to figure out how they want to use it for their products, for their customers, and so on and so forth. So I don't know what's going to stick around. I think that if this is an investment idea, and obviously I don't give investment advice, but just looking at the old markets, if you put money in AOL, you would have won if you got at a certain point, and you would have lost big if you didn't. If you got into Netscape, you would have won at a certain point, and you would have lost big if you didn't. So right now you can win, I think, short term with about anything. But if you're talking about long term, who knows?
This is a good point. And this is what puzzles me about crypto as an investment is I can't explain how it's valued, the fundamental value that drives a price up or price down. I can do it in an apartment building. I can do it on real estate. I can do it in a stock to some degree, even though the market swings things wildly sometimes in and out of where it should be. But to me, it's in my mind, it's just pure speculation. And I'm being told that you can there's a finite amount of Bitcoin, but I can create a coin. As many different kinds of coins all day long. So I can take stuff out of Bitcoin and then put it in some other coin like Ethereum or anything else that you invent later on. So help me understand how Bitcoin is valued. Is it actually pure speculation, or is there a little bit more of a supply and demand? Is there more of an economic factor involved there?
I think you just said it, it's supply and demand. And so if you can't control the supply and you can't put more supply into the system and the demand stays either constant or goes up, then you are going to have a higher price. And that's with anything. If you're not making more houses, if Pulte doesn't start building more, development complexes around, then there's going to be the price of houses are going to go for a lot more than they are. So it's the same principle with Bitcoin or any of these other cryptocurrencies with or a finite supply. But Bitcoin is one that we are looking at right now. And you can transfer that to NFTs as well. NFTs are creating a digital signature of a certain digital item on the blockchain. So say if there's one of this, there's only going to be one of this. And so you have a finite supply. And then of course, there's people going to pay for it, what they are going to pay for it. And that's just it. But other things, yeah, of course, there's speculation, just like with everything. How much is Tesla really worth? Who knows? Do they really make as much cars or as much profit as Toyota or Ford? I don't know about that as well. However, people are willing to buy into Tesla and make it a $1 trillion company because of the potential in the future, which is a little bit of speculation. I think people are looking at the cryptocurrency space or crypto or digital or Web3 or metaverse. They're kind of the same way. They're kind of betting on the future.